So first things first, welcome to the first ever Magic Gaming Esports Academy virtual seminar presented by Florida Blue. I'll be your moderator today, Harris Rubenstein. I work very closely with the NBA2K League as a on-air talent, as a lead writer. I've been working with the league now for 4 years, so very happy to be here. And with me today, our first subject for my intense questioning is Bennett Newsome, the Director of Esports Growth and Development at Full Sail University. A title fitting of his fantastic beard. So Bennett, how you doing today? Thank you for doing this. How's Full Sail? I'm
doing great. Thank you for having me. And Full Sail's doing great. We're kind of getting ready for the season, which is exciting, and kind of getting ready to kick things off come August. So it's a fun time right now.
Oh yeah, it's all the preparation work. Yeah, you guys are ramping up. The 2K League. We're about to head to the newly named 3v3 and 5v5 championships, which should be fun. But let's start with a little origin story for you. So you've been my stalking of your LinkedIn profile. 15 years in esports for you, an incredible accomplishment. So how did you get into esports? You told me that there's a previous music career along the way. What happened to those 15 years?
Yeah, it's crazy. So I've been at Full Sail for almost 16 years now, which is kind of insane. It's obviously like my longest running job, which is great. But for me, I grew up and gaming was a huge part of my whole existence. Parents had like an Atari that I played on when I was a kid, and then went through the whole console generation, and that was a huge part of it. I love gaming. And then somewhere along the way, I just really got into music and started to learn how to play guitar. And, from there started playing in bands when I was like 13 or 14, maybe. And then that was it. I found the thing that I was passionate about, and I just did it. And so I played music for a good, 18 years or something like that. Bunch of different bands, some very successful, some not successful at all.
as bands go.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a lot of fun. We had a good time and wrote some good music and got to tour and do some really fun things, which was great. And eventually, I kind of was like, I think I'm ready to not play music anymore, which is kind of crazy because I had always been like, oh, I'm gonna play music forever. I'll never not, and it was right around that time when I discovered Twitch, and I was just like, this is kind of cool. Like I like what I see here. And so I got really into obviously already into gaming, but even more so now, and started streaming. And then a little game from this small developer called Bungie came out called Destiny. And after that, it was over. I was super hooked into the game, built a great audience, and the community on Twitch for Destiny was fantastic. Really got involved with that, started to go to different events and meetups, and really started to get out there, which was really cool, and start growing obviously the channel. Eventually got partnered on Twitch, and ended up kind of starting to dabble more in the worlds of esports, and had through Full Sail had been kind of really involved in it already. Full Sail had been in the esports space from like an event production side kind of standpoint early on. And so we were doing events on campus with MLG and Red Bull and Madden and all these different events that were happening early, like 2011, 2010-ish or so. And that was really kind of the first taste. 2013, I went out to represent Full Sail on the road at MLG Ohio, and they were doing Dota 2 and Call of Duty Ghosts. And it was really cool to be up there and just see, the scale of what it had become. And after that, I knew, I was like, okay, I got to really, really start paying attention and kind of looking at what the potential here was. And so that continued to grow. And eventually, when Full Sail decided, hey, we're going to really lean into this esports stuff, we've got a lot of things that we want to do. My name just started to come up in a lot of the meetings, and got kind of recruited into it from, working in the student support area of Full Sail to then coming over and working in the esports side of things. It was kind of a dream come true. I always wanted to work in the gaming and esports world, and it just kind of, made it happen, I guess. Just started to connect the dots, which was really cool. And obviously all that, that I was putting into the stream side of things, I had obviously different intentions of what I was trying to do with my channel at that time. Right. I was like, hey, this would be cool to do this full time and go, really go all in on it. And then all of a sudden this whole new career opportunity was just kind of, hey, are you interested in this? And I was like, of course I am. This is cool. Why would I not be? So, that kind of is how it all started for me. Just following the things that you were passionate about and really putting in the effort and the time and the dedication and all while still, working full time at Full Sail. And, it all kind of came together, which was pretty great.
So, big fancy titles exist everywhere. And you have a big and fancy one, Director of Esports Growth and Development.
Yes.
What does that mean? What do you do? What is growth and development for you?
It's a lot of things. I get to wear a lot of different hats. And I think that's kind of the most exciting part about my job is I get to do a little bit of everything, and so, one of the things that I'm really focused on is continuing the growth and the development of our esports program at Full Sail. And that's more than just like of our varsity teams. We really try to approach esports in kind of a different direction at Full Sail, not necessarily 100% focused on, hey, it's all about, the competitive side of esports, because there's so much more. And I truly believe that there's a whole industry and for the types of degrees that we have at Full Sail and the things that we're teaching, everything touches esports. And just like the NBA, there's a whole industry underneath that support, the players and the teams to make it successful. And esports is the exact same way. It's just, there's a lot of people that just don't know how to get into it. And so, that's a really big part of our program is, obviously we have the competitive side with our team Armada. But then we have our career side, then we have our content side. We created a stream team for the Armada kids. So this is something that maybe they didn't want to be on the competitive team or they didn't make the team, and they still wanted to be involved. They had a passion for esports and streaming and content creation. So, we created the stream team so that they could still participate, still be part of it. And really it's that whole stream team has taken off. We've seen a lot of students really latch onto it and grow from that. And it's been exciting to watch, the students go through their programs, being part of that, and then grow and go off into the industry and start working in related fields, which is great. And then obviously, I get to work on a lot of events. I get to do things like this, which is always fun.
Yep.
And a big part of it, comes down to, furthering the efforts of what we're trying to do at the school and specifically in esports, obviously, but relationships are super important in this industry. So going out there and meeting new folks is a big part of my job as well.
So you've been in esports for so long, and I want to talk about like getting into esports and how many just different opportunities there are in this field. So
yeah, for
you in your past, what are some of your favorite non-director roles that you've had in your career? It can be anything from, an in-studio producer to even just being a part of the stage crew.
Mm-hmm.
Like what are some of your favorite ones that when you think about it, you're like, man, that was a real hook, line, and sinker for me?
A lot of my favorite ones have been at Full Sail. If you're unfamiliar with the school, we built in 2019, we built the Fortress. It's the Full Sail University Orlando Health Fortress. It's the largest esports arena on any college campus in the country, which is pretty awesome. But this acts as like a classroom for all of our students as well, as a space that we have clients that come in and we're able to put on events like the NBA2K League. They came in 2019 and did the ticket there, which was a great event. But the cool part about that is that every position that the NBA 2K had for production, we also had a student working, right alongside them, shadowing them the whole way through. And that's a huge, valuable resource that, doesn't get talked about all the time. So being able to do those types of things, I also get to work a lot of these events too, which is usually really fun. And I think probably one of the ones that sticks out in my mind was one of our very first events that we did to launch and the grand opening of the Fortress. And that was something called the Fortress 40, where we did a Fortnite tournament and we did 10 grads, 10 students, 10 faculty and staff, and 10 influencers or streamers that would come to the Fortress, play tournament, you know, in Fortnite. And it was a blast. It was a lot of fun. The only thing that we didn't realize at first, and I think this is probably why it's so fun to me, is that eventually we had a bunch of kind of, you know, dummy accounts that we just made so we could test the game. And then when everybody showed up, they logged out of those. And then 40 people logged in at the same time from our IP address. And Epic was like, hold on, guys, what are you doing? And they kind of timed us out for a little bit. But we were like, the show was running, we were already going, and you know, we had to move quick. And I remember running from the production room. I was observing that day, but I ran down and I was like, we got to figure out how to get the game in. And then it like clicked. I'm like, wait, I built all these computers with Wi-Fi in them. So I was like, unplug the Ethernet, log into the Wi-Fi, get them in the game, plug it back in, turn it to the, you know, turn the Wi-Fi off. And I was able to like quickly like get everybody in as like the stream was going live and the first match was happening. So it's kind of those like things that happen in live production that you don't usually ever see or hear about, but they're happening behind the scenes. And everyone's like, wow, this is a flawless event. And you're like super stressed. You're like, oh God, it was crazy. But that was a really fun moment, I think.
Yeah, welcome to live production. Nothing, no short of adrenaline, right? For sure. By the way, I wanted to welcome the new people we have coming in. This is the first ever Magic Gaming Esports Academy virtual seminar presented by Florida Blue. We're here with Bennett Newsome, the Director of Esports Growth and Development at Full Sail University. If you guys have any questions for him, we will be doing a Q&A section at the end of this. So just drop them in the Zoom chat. We'll get to them kind of as the day goes on.
Yeah.
So Bennett, for you, you know, let's say I'm just getting into this, right? I'm just getting into esports. I've been a gamer my whole life. You know, maybe I've been interested, you know, I have my own unique skill set. Where does somebody get started in esports? Like what's point A for people if they want to get involved?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different angles to, you know, answer this question from. So I'm going to kind of give you a couple answers. The first, and I think it applies to all of them, is just start gaming, just start doing the thing that you're interested and passionate about. Because there's a lot of ways. Obviously, if you're coming in as like a player or someone that wants to compete, you really gotta put in the time, and it's not about just playing the game mindlessly. Oh, I put in, you know, 5,000 hours of this game. That's great, but what are you doing to continue to grow like your skills when you're, you know, putting them in those 5,000 hours, right? And so it's about, you know, finding, you know, if it's a first person shooter, like aim trainers and things like that, or really playing and working with other people that maybe are above your skill level to try to elevate you up, try to learn from people, watch what people are doing, and really put in the time in that regard. Not necessarily always just playing, but always like learning and growing in some shape or form. If it's from a different perspective, if it's content creation, best part to do, just start streaming, you know, really focus on, hey, I'm just going to get started. I'm learning these things. Because as you go on with streaming, you continue to develop, you continue to add on to your stream, you learn new things, you try to implement them. And it's kind of a learning path as you go, because you just start to absorb things like a sponge. And that's a super important piece of all of this, is you're always going to need to be learning. Whether that's from a competitive standpoint or any of the other avenues that you could take into the esports world, you have to kind of become a lifelong learner. And that's, you know, watching a ton of YouTube videos, or going back to school, or, you know, finding the areas that are going to help you, you know, learn some new knowledge. I was talking to, you know, a student today that's really into esports, and they're in one of our graphic design programs, and you know, they're sending me their portfolio, and I'm like, this is great. Like, I would love to see you continue this in, you know, the esports world. Let's try to start streaming some of this, like start, you know, show people that creative process that you go through when you're making, you know, logos or whatever it is that you're designing, you know, like try to start building some content based on that, because that gets you out there. Right. So I think there's a lot of different ways to do it, but just starting from the beginning is super important, because so many people think about it and say, I want to do this. I want to do this so badly, but then they never take that first step. They just keep talking about, oh, I want to go, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. Time is something that you can't change. It's always going to take time for things. But if you start now and you continue to build on that, and, you know, stay consistent, which is always a hard part, but if you can stay consistent, that time adds up. And eventually, you're going to be in a place that you're like, oh, this is starting to do something. I want to do, continue. The other thing from a player standpoint, find local tournaments in your area. There's a ton all over the place. If you've never played in a tournament, just sign up. You win, then great. That's awesome. You're probably not going on your very first one, but get into that system. Learn how to sign up for these tournaments. Learn how the bracket works. Learn how to kind of scout your competition. Like, you're going to learn so much just by doing, and starting and taking that first step is always the best recommendation I can give, especially if you're trying to be competitive.
I'll say this as somebody, kind of my origin story: go to esport events, even if you aren't competing, just meet people, fellow fans, coaches, players. Like, a lot of the people in esports are always so welcoming and kind. Like, you'll be surprised how eager people are to introduce you to their passion of esports. Like, it's so cool to go to these in-person events, and you just meet so many awesome people.
And I would say this too: volunteer. Events are always looking for volunteers, and later that could turn into like a paid gig. You never know. But if you want to get in, volunteer your time to work an event that's going on in your area. It's such a great way to network, and then work hard. Don't, slack off when you're there. Like, show the people that are being paid to do it that you can also, and that can take you a long way too.
So let's talk a little bit about social media and kind of how that can, get people involved in esports, because esports and social media go together at this point like peanut butter and jelly. Like, you want to grow your Twitch. It's hard to grow Twitch without using other social media platforms. Same with YouTube, any of those kind of platforms. So what are some things that you've seen or you've done on the social media kind of strategy side that you think have worked, but also some stuff that, is a little bit easier to do, because a lot of time it's a lot of editing and a lot of scheduling and a lot of posting. So what are some easy kind of beginner shortcuts for people to really get involved on the social media side?
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, you kind of have to be on them all, and have an account there and have some sort of presence there, and slowly start to build that. It is an uphill battle with building your brand on other platforms. Maybe you've just been doing the Twitch thing for a while, and you're feeling good, and there's a nice little following that you got for yourself. But branching out and then taking that content that you're creating while live, putting it somewhere else, is going to be really important. I actually just discovered a new thing called Clipbot. It's basically from a developer that was kind of like, hey, I want to make this easier. I actually made a YouTube video on this last week. So if you go to search for my YouTube, you can find it, and it will tell you everything that you need to know. But in short, this program runs on your computer, and it will take any clips that you have made on your Twitch channel, and it will automatically turn them into YouTube shorts and TikTok videos. The TikTok, you have to manually actually push, post on it, but it will completely take the video, crop it, do all the editing that you need, and it will upload it automatically for you. And this is a huge thing. I love it because I work full time. I don't have 24 hours every day where I'm able to just dedicate to streaming and then editing that content. The other thing too, I think is a big thing that a lot of people fall into in the streaming space. They're trying to get started is going all in, like real hard, as far as the amount of time that you're streaming. I really don't think you should probably stream more than like 4 hours, unless it's like a game release day or something. But even then, it's also a struggle, because most people are watching the people that are at the top of the directory. But I've seen a lot of people get started. Oh, I'm gonna stream 24 hours, and they go right in, and that's not a great idea. It's gonna really lead to like burnout and things like that early on, in your streaming career, and that's something that's tough to deal with. The other thing too that I think would be more beneficial, and I talk to the folks that are on our stream team for Armada about this all the time, is like, if you're going to stream and you want to stream for 8 hours, cut it down, do 4 hours, and then take that other 4 hours to go watch other people's streams, be part of other people's community in a proper way. You don't want to go and like self-promote or anything like that, but like just being around, watching, being active in the chat, that's a huge deal for streamers. Like, I'm sure if you've ever streamed before and no one's talking, it's you got to be on your toes. You know, you got to kind of make up things as they come. But when there's other people that you can bounce ideas off of in chat, that's a huge deal. And people remember that. Streamers are going to remember that. They're going to remember your username. And then eventually they'll go like, hey, you stream, don't you? And you're like, oh, if they ask you, it's totally okay for you to respond. And that's a cool thing about this community is being a part of someone's community is can really go a long way as well. But I really think that obviously like sharing your content elsewhere is a big part of growing your channel. And, you know, you kind of just have to start doing it. It's kind of how it goes. Back in the old days of Twitch, it was very different, you know, people would just find you, but now there's so many people doing it that it's a lot harder for that strategy to work these days.
I'm gonna humble plug your the chat's disabled. Dan, when you have a chance, turn the chat back on and I'll drop Bennett's video that I just sleuthed off the internet. I'll put the clip off video in there.
All right.
That's a good transition. Let's talk about mental health, because mental health is such a huge part of society today, and you know, being able to communicate and talk about it. And obviously on the esports side of things, there's so much of so much care towards it right now, especially inside of gaming, where it's going outside and like not always being in front of a computer screen, like all this stuff, like online bullying and stuff. But you know, from a good perspective, right? How can someone really prioritize their mental well-being while still pursuing this career? Because like you said, you know, there's a lot of time and a lot of effort that you have to put into it. But at the end of the day, like the mental always has to come first.
Absolutely. It's very easy to, get burned out and have, not necessarily like great feelings when streaming. You know, streaming's an interesting thing, right? Where one day 30 people show up to your stream. You're like, this is awesome. I love it. Like, holy cow. And then like the next day, 3 show up and it's like, what happened? What did I do? What did I say? Like, what did I do wrong? And then, and in reality, nothing. Those, you just maybe had a fluke and people came, and then today they were busy, so they didn't come, and I know a lot of people that hits real hard. So I think a big part of it is taking time and understanding that this isn't an overnight success. If you look at any of the streamers that are at the top of the charts, they've been doing this for at minimum like 10 years, like this isn't something that they just like started overnight and now they're huge. Like they've put in the time, and that's what you have to do. That's always, again, the hardest side of things is putting in the time. But when, I know for myself, there's been plenty of times where was streaming really hard. Right before I got partnered, I was putting in a ton of time. And it was all that I could think about. And it got me into a really bad kind of like headspace. And it was all that I cared about, all that I was trying to do. And I think a big part of what helped me out was just kind of taking a step back and going, hey, I need to go take a little bit of a break. And while taking a week off isn't always easy when it comes to consistency and building your brand on Twitch, it is important that you take that time and you really kind of say, okay, this is a big, important piece. And I can't be the best, streamer if I'm not, 100% all the time. And, if there's that will to continue that, like being at that level, then you gotta, hey, maybe tonight I don't stream. Maybe I go do something else, and take care of that. For me, I'm married. I have 2 dogs. I work a full-time job. Like I have a pretty specific balance, and I've, been able to, work with my wife and figure out the days that we're going to stream, the days that we're not, and then the days that we're not, we don't, and that's just kind of how it goes. And so I think building kind of a plan and building a schedule that's not overwhelming is an important piece of the puzzle from an esports perspective. From especially for a player, take time off. Like, it's super important to have other things in your life outside of the game. And it doesn't mean that you can't play, but it's managing that time effectively. Because if all you do is play and put in the time, you're missing out on a ton of other valuable skill sets that you would be learning from going out and doing things and having fun with your friends and, doing stuff with your family and all of this stuff. And so granted, don't get me wrong, I love playing the game and that's a big part of it. And obviously if you're going to be, a competitor, you got to put in the time. But I think breaking that up and managing that effectively is going to be a super important piece of that. And the last piece I will say too, especially since middle school and high schools are really starting to formalize their esports programs that lead into the collegiate space where I work, grades are super important. And if you're putting all your time into gaming and you're not paying attention in class, you're not turning in your homework, and you're not doing well in your classes, that's going to affect the opportunities that you have. And if most schools now, they have a GPA requirement that you have to maintain to participate at Full Sail. It's a minimum of 2.5 to even be on a team. But if you're at a 2.5, that means you're kind of in trouble. You need to figure out what you're doing, because we got to get that back up higher so that you're in a safe spot and can remain on the team and can meet and can compete in the different things. So taking the time to make sure that you're checking all of the other boxes outside of the gaming is going to be really important for your success and your future in this. Because I mean, there's schools out there that are full riding people, paying for their entire college program to come and play esports. And that's
crazy.
A reality. Like, that's
so cool.
It's a very cool thing. And sometimes you just have to think about that and be like, wow, that's nuts. This is how I pay for college. I go in this direction. So grades are so important. Time is so important. Your mental health is so important. You just have to make sure that you're being aware of all those.
Yeah, I just remember back when I was a kid playing, Super Smash Bros. Melee on a GameCube by myself, and now you see people, somebody like a Sonic Fox making millions of dollars off of it. But at the same time, you see a lot of these esport athletes, especially, talk about how they need to take their own breaks. They need to kind of get away from it for a little bit. And also, for the people out there, try to get some blue screen glasses. Those glasses are great. They'll save your eyes for sure.
Absolutely.
And also for the people who've just joined us, if you guys have any questions, please drop them in the chat. We'll do a little Q&A session later with Bennett. Definitely want to hear if you guys have any questions. But for, Bennett, you and Full Sail, you guys always seem to have cool things on the horizon. So, and any cool things to plug, any fun stuff that you guys are doing in the future that we should keep an eye out for?
We've got some really cool stuff going on. Basically, we just launched a brand new program at Full Sail. It's the Game Business and Esports degree. It's a bachelor's degree, really focusing on like the business side of gaming and esports. So that's a huge thing that we've just announced, and classes have started. So it's like 20-month campus program and a 29-month online program, which is really exciting. And you can check that out over on fullsail.edu if you have any questions or interest in that. We also, I actually host a podcast kind of similar to this on the Full Sail Armada channel every other Thursday. Our very next episode is tomorrow. We're interviewing Janessa Christine, who's the CEO and co-founder of Phoenix Down, which is a talent agency that represents a ton of esports players and streamers. And so it's good. The whole show's called Have Game Will Travel. It's all about people that are out there working in the industry and just talking about and shedding light on kind of the side that you don't normally see, the kind of the behind the scenes of esports, and really focusing on that industry itself. And so that's a big part of what I'm doing on Twitch over on the Full Sail Armada channel. And yeah, we've got the new seasons are kicking off here come August. We have 10 different teams that are going to be competing across a bunch of different games. So it's real exciting to kind of see, all of the students, come together and held tryouts earlier in the last couple of months, and it's exciting to see. So we're really amped up and ready for the seasons to kick off, and get exciting.
So I do have to ask, because everybody's a little bit biased. What is your favorite esport to watch, and then what is your favorite video game to play?
Okay, that's a great question. And it's a tough one because I do love most of the games that we play and we competed.
Of course.
But I am obviously a little biased to both Call of Duty and Halo. Big fans of those games. Personally, the game that I play, that I stream, is Escape from Tarkov, which is a super intense game, very very tough, very
unforgiving. I think is the best word for it.
Unforgiving is definitely a good a good example of that. But again, I got my start in Destiny, so that's a big part. I actually co-own a website called whereiszer.com, which is a pretty popular Destiny website where every Friday, if you've played Destiny before, you know this guy named Zer. He shows up and he sells exotic items. And basically, we are live for that. We have a whole channel dedicated to it on Twitch called Zerwatch. My co-owner and I, we basically just stream his arrival, and then we go through everything that he's selling, update the website, make a video for YouTube, and then send it out. So Destiny 2 is a big one too. But I got super wrapped up in Tarkov. I've been playing that game for a real long time, so I've been focused on that. But I'll tell you this: the game that really has kind of, I think, taken the scene by storm, and while I am not great at the game and I'm not a huge fan of playing the game, watching Valorant is insane. We just hosted a youth esports league called XP League at Full Sail, and we did a 2-day 2-venue event. So both the live venue at Full Sail and the Fortress was all happening like simultaneously, and it was kids ages like 8 through 16, I think, that were competing. So like 300 kids from across the country came down to the campus with their families and competed. And some of these kids that were playing Valorant, I mean, it was insane. I think one match had like 32 like overtime rounds or something. It was wild. It was definitely a lot of fun to watch. So that's like a new one on my list that I've been like, okay, I'm enjoying this. But Call of Duty and both Halo have been a big fans for me.
I'm gonna, I'll ignore the fact that you didn't say 2K, even though the head coach of Magic Gaming is in here with us right now.
I am very bad. I am very bad at 2K. And the funny thing is, we had the team come in and play, and I got to play against some of the guys. And I was just like, yep, nope, here you go. This is not for me. Like, maybe if I fire up some NHL, I could be there, but 2K is not my game, unfortunately.
HL Esports is starting to come around.
Oh yeah,
it's starting to blow up a little bit. For the people who are watching, last chance, if you have any questions for Bennett, get them in now. Bennett, to wrap things up, just you've had such a long career in esports. It sounds like you guys have a lot of fun stuff to come. And any last words for the people out there interested in esports? It is still a difficult and competitive industry to get into. So any final words for the people, for the hopeful people at home?
Yeah, I think, one of the most important things about it is to, be yourself, and really focus on, kind of making an impact with what you do. I think it's easy to get caught up in the social media hype and all the stuff happening there. Like, just remember that the stuff that you post online is there. It stays there. People see it. People screen cap it. Like, it doesn't go away. And you just have to make sure that, if you're really interested in being in this world, you got to play the game, and that means that, maybe don't retweet that toxic tweet that just went out. You know what I mean? Like, keep that in there. So, people will look at that, and it has an effect. So.
We got a question from Dylan Worthington, bit of a personal question about Full Sail. When is the deadline for the COD team? I just started this month. I know I have to wait 4 months at the time. Will it still be the new COD or Vanguard?
Well, it depends. The season starts later this year. So I think they're planning to play on the new COD. That's how it happened last year. So basically, with Cold War was out, and then once Vanguard dropped, that was what they were playing. So they kind of shift with the releases of COD. If you got, to kind of give some clarity to the question, at Full Sail, we have a 4-month requirement that our students, make sure that they are past that 4 months. Full Sail is an accelerated pace program. So you move pretty quickly through the courses. So you take about one, maybe 2 classes a month, depending upon, which degree you're in. And it gets intense. And so we set that up so students can kind of get their feet wet and understand the time management required to be successful at Full Sail. And obviously, when you're dedicating 30 to 45 hours a week for your school, and then adding another maybe 15, 20 on top of that to compete and play and do your scrims and matches, it can get pretty busy. So we want to make sure that that foundation is there. And that's why the 4-month is in that question, is that they need to wait till that happens. And then the other component is GPA, which is the 2.5 cumulative GPA. We do also have a other requirement called GPS, which is Global Professional Standards. It's something unique to Full Sail, but it works with the GPA. And it's essentially, it's how you act as a professional, as a student. Because the industries that we serve are all, behind the scenes, we want students to start to get in that habit of, being a professional to their classmates, to their teachers, to anybody else that they're interacting with while they're a student. So they all start off with 100. If you make a mistake or whatever, you can lose points. You can also go and volunteer and do other things to gain points, which is always great. So a 90% GPS score is required to be eligible for the teams as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Bennett. Again, this is Bennett Newsome, the Director of Esports Growth and Development at Full Sail University. I'm Harris Rubenstein, one of the on-air talent for the NBA2K League. A reminder, since this is a Magic Gaming event, check out the Magic Gaming versus Cavs Legion GC series tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern time, twitch.tv/NBA2K League or youtube.com/NBA2K League. They will be live for a little 3v3 action at 8. That'll do it for us. Bennett, thank you. Thank you to everybody who joined, and we'll have a recording of this one. So appreciate it, everyone.
Awesome.
And have a great Wednesday night, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. See you guys.